You see it all the time, right? One day, a headline says coffee is the secret to a long life. The very next day, you read it's a villain that's out to get your heart. It's just confusing. It gives you whiplash trying to figure out what's actually true.
All right, so let's just cut through all of that noise. In this explainer, we're not going to cherry pick some small study from last week. No, we're going straight to the big guns, one of the largest, most comprehensive reviews of evidence ever done. We're going to get to the bottom of this once and for all. What is that daily cup of coffee really doing to you?
And you know what? The answer is pretty surprising. There was this huge, and I mean massive, umbrella review in the British Medical Journal. They looked at the data from over 200 different studies, and they came back with a really clear conclusion. For most of us, for the average adult, coffee is actually more likely to help you than it is to hurt you. Okay, but hold on. This doesn't mean you should be chugging coffee all day long. The science is super clear on this. There's a sweet spot. The researchers found that the biggest health benefits, the real magic, happens when people drink right around 3 to 4 cups a day. So what kind of benefits are we even talking about here? Well, let's kick things off with the biggest one imaginable. People who hit that 3 to 4 cup sweet spot, they had a 17% lower risk of dying from anything. That's what all-cause mortality means. A lower risk of dying from any cause at all compared to people who didn't drink coffee. That's just a huge, staggering finding. And it doesn't stop there. The good news keeps coming, especially for our hearts. That same research showed that moderate coffee drinkers, we're talking 3 to 5 cups a day, had a 15% lower risk of developing heart disease. And get this, it wasn't just about getting it, they also had a 19% lower risk of dying from heart disease. That's a pretty big deal. The protective shield of coffee seems to extend to type 2 diabetes too. And the connection here? It's really, really strong. In fact, the people who drink the most coffee had about a 30% lower risk of developing it. So it seems like something in coffee is actually helping our bodies handle sugar better. If there's one part of your body that's just cheering for your coffee habit, it's your liver. Seriously, the science here is so consistent and so powerful. We're talking a 39% lower risk for liver cirrhosis and a 29% lower risk of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. It's like coffee acts as a bodyguard for our body's main filter. So awesome. Coffee is a superfood, problem solved, right? Well, not so fast. Because just as clear as the science is on the benefits, it's also crystal clear about the risks. And knowing when to say no to that extra cup is just as important as knowing about all the good stuff. Okay, so let's talk about the other side of the coin. There are some really specific situations where drinking coffee comes with some serious, well-documented risks. The evidence here is just not fuzzy at all. And the number one biggest, most consistent warning sign that came out of all this research, it has to do with pregnancy. The review was absolutely clear on this. Drinking a lot of coffee during pregnancy is linked to some really negative outcomes. So what's going on here? Why the big warning? Well, during pregnancy, the body's ability to break down caffeine just slows way down. It can take twice as long to clear from your system. So that caffeine sticks around longer at higher levels, and it easily crosses over to the fetus. That's exactly why the official recommendation is to stick to a strict limit, about 200 milligrams a day, which is roughly 2 small cups of coffee, to keep those risks as low as possible. Okay, so pregnancy is the big one. But outside of that, the whole coffee story gets a little more nuanced. It's not a simple good or bad, it kind of becomes an it depends situation, depending on you, your body, and even how you make your coffee. And this is where it gets really fascinating. Let's talk about our bones. There is a wild difference between men and women here. The research found that drinking a lot of coffee was linked to a higher risk of bone fractures in women, but a lower risk in men. How crazy is that? Scientists are still figuring out exactly why, but it might have something to do with how caffeine messes with calcium or hormones. It's not just about who's drinking it, it's about how you're making it. So think about unfiltered coffee, like what you get from a French press. It has these things in it called diterpenes, and they can actually raise your bad LDL cholesterol. But here's the cool part. A simple paper filter, like in a regular drip coffee machine, catches most of that stuff. So just by filtering it, you can totally change its effect on your heart health. It's a pretty simple hack. All right, so you could be doing everything perfectly. You're drinking the right amount, you're using a filter, but you could still be wiping out all those awesome health benefits. And it all boils down to one thing: what you're adding to your coffee.
Think about it. A plain cup of black coffee has like 5 calories. Is a hero. But so many of those fancy coffee shop drinks, they're basically milkshakes pretending to be coffee. Once you start pumping in all that sugar, those syrups, the whipped cream, you're suddenly drinking hundreds of calories. You've just turned this amazing healthy drink into a sugar bomb that totally cancels out all the good things it does for your metabolism.
Okay, so we've looked at all the amazing benefits, the really important warnings, and all the little details in between. What do we do with all this information? Let's boil it all down. Let's create a super simple, practical guide to making the healthiest cup of coffee you possibly can. It really just comes down to 3 things. It's that simple. 1, mind the amount. Stick to that sweet spot of 3 to 4 cups. 2, filter your brew. Use a paper filter to get rid of the stuff that messes with your cholesterol. And 3, watch the additives. Seriously, just keep it simple. The closer you stay to plain black coffee, the more of those incredible health perks you're actually gonna get.
So when you look at all the science, the bottom line is pretty clear. For most people, coffee isn't a foe at all. It can be a really healthy friend in your daily routine. We've got a clear roadmap now for how to get the most good out of it and avoid the bad. So the only real question left is, knowing all this, what's going to be in your cup tomorrow morning?